All right, before we even get started, I'm going to be talking about the moons, all the different moons, as far as mythology goes. And they are, as far as I'm going to show you, I can pretty much prove they are biological. Now, we also need to talk about Greek mythology, which is all of these claims about these ancient gods, and they were body parts of creatures, and they became planets and earth and gods, Jupiter, Zeus, Saturn, which Kronos, Venus, who could even be Jesus Christ. It's very, very hard to put all this together, and nobody ever really has. It's too disparate. There's too many pieces to this puzzle. And some of them overlap, and some of them have been designed specifically to mislead. And I'm trying not to do that in any way whatsoever. I'm presenting evidence. You take it for any way you want. But it's going to be about mythology, and it's going to be about deep, deep beliefs. It's going to be deep. All right, a lot of my stuff is based on works by Hesiod, however you want to pronounce it. Hesiod supposedly was visited by the daughters of Zeus while he was up on Mount Helicon tending his sheep. And they came down and they said, "We want you to write books about our heritage, our family, our father," who was Zeus, who was Jupiter. You know, you got your Roman and you got your Greek. They give a different name to each one of them, but the same guy, Zeus, Jupiter, same guy, and the same planet. And the same being, when he came to Earth, he came morphed into a hot-looking god, came down here, and he had a lot of, sex. He was a very sexual god, according to these ancient texts. And the daughters of Zeus came and they said, "You write these books." And he says, I'm illiterate, I can't write, I can't do that. They gave him what they call a laurel rod, a magic rod, and they said, he started writing, and he just kept writing and writing and writing. And he wrote two major works, which we're going to examine in a minute here. But he was the first guy, really, this is about, they give it here 750 to 650 BC. I've heard other different accounts, 800, maybe even a little earlier. But that's not long ago. That's only 3,000 years ago. That's not long ago. And Zeus, Jupiter, was here going back and forth to Earth. Apparently, his daughters were on Mount Helicon. They were living up on these mountains. It appears to me that's the way they talk about them. Mount Olympus, Mount Helicon, all of these high up on the mountains. They had palaces and everything else. It appears. I don't know. That's what it seems. Now, this is basically the original division of the classes. The theogony was about the Greek gods and all of the people that were in charge, or the gods that were in charge, and their origin and their genealogies of these gods. And it's an epic. It's a huge thing. Now, so that was that one. Hold on. Now, Works and Days was the other one he wrote. And now this is what the average human being had to put up with every day. And this was, it contains Works and Days. It's basically a farmer's almanac in which Hesiod instructs his brother Perseus into the agricultural arts. So, and then he talks about the average life of a person. Basically, I didn't really read these in depth, but I read enough to understand. It sounds to me like this is the real deal. He was told, write this thing down, because boy, I'll tell you, it's detailed. Okay, my friends, I got some new information that as I was going over things, I claim that this is a Appolodorus style tendon without the major stalk in the center. The strap comes in from the side. That's what the Appolodorus style is. And it doesn't have as much of a real stalk coming out as the rope style, which I will show you right now. This is the stalk of a rope style tendon enthesis. This ball is the strap style, which I think the Earth might be, where it came in, I mean the moon, where it comes in from the side so it doesn't have a straight down snap to it to pull that center core up. This last time in the video I did about the moon and all that stuff. But anyway, this is the Appolodorus style tendon, and the strap goes up here, and all of the mat has eroded away because of its chemistry. That's all I can tell you. But the ball is still here, and the strap is still here. Here, there's another one that would have come down to that ball right there, and this ball's all over the place. This is Arches National Park. Now, I believe this was one of those Appolodorus tendons where the strap came down and sort of anchored here and more or less slides off. It doesn't snap off with a pin sticking up. And this is where it would have anchored. It would have been in the, just like the other one as I showed you at Arches, only this is where the arch would have gone up. And of course it's not there now. But basically you got those little stripes, you see, right down here. That's what basically anchors it in. It gives it a little, like a tire grip in there, so it won't pull out. But the other one did, unfortunately, which is a painful injury, this one right here. It ripped out from this spot. Now, the other style, the rope style, makes a pop with a stem coming out of it. That's what I have found, it looks like to me. Now that was, what did I show you? Mimes. I believe that's a Mimes. All right, that's Mimes. You see this little pop in the front there? We don't need that one. Oh, and the other thing you wanted to pay attention to is these two spots here, because it has to be fed with something. I believe these are basically vein and artery coming in here, and I think it might be right there and right over here. And we have them on the moon too. Boom and boom. And they're two different colors. And I went over the colors and what this is. I know what this stuff is. I know what the chemistry should be. I understand this. And it's membrane. You know, there's membranes here. There's interstitium. There's a lymph area. I believe this right here is where the lymph is. This is going to be, you know, mostly body tissue, almost like fleshy. And it's what it is. We have to pay attention to what's there and not just be freaked out and say, no, look at that. Shut your mind off, the guy's crazy. Well, look at this, watch this now. This is Tetris. This is another one. Now it's quite obviously biology, you know. And that's what was written, because we're going to go into the ancient text right now, very soon. Now this is Iapetus. Here's another one. Look, see that the ridge there? I think this was inside of some tissue here. It's quite obvious these are not accidental little things showing up here. And here's Iapetus ridge. You see the little ridge going down there? And I think that's what held it into the tissue, and now it's gone. What else? What's this one? Oh, that's me playing with my papers. And again, I showed you this stuff. I think I did. Well, I know I showed on the last one. This is what's in space. It's not empty. It's saturated with things that I have no idea what to tell you they are. All I can say is here they are. Come back and look at them if you want to spend some time. This is a dipole, strange dipole, because all of the dark is associated basically to these two entities, and almost all the white is over here. This is a little different than I'm accustomed to. But it's there. This came right out of space. Not my stuff. This was sent to me by somebody. They don't want to be involved, so I'm not going to get them involved. But that's the moon, and these are all the fields, and these are all the dipoles, and that's, I believe, Venus has a double field, and that's something very, very difficult to explain, but I think I understand it. And of course the Mars crab, this was all biology up on Mars, same as it is here on Earth. As above, so below. And this is up on Mars too. That's a tendon. I'm almost certain of that. There's your little spots there, and there's the stalk. Remember how we see the other ones? You have a spot there, and then you have the two little spots here and there. See? Here's the two spots. You got the big spot here. So all I can say is let's look at what they had to say in the ancient texts. If you're interested, stick around, because that's where I'm going next, to see what they did say about these moons. And what was the meaning of them? Where did they come from? Who was their, creator? We're going way back into the ancient myth. And I'll let chat just play it for you. And we can listen, and I'll stop it here and there if there's something that we want to listen to or want to think about. All right, let's see if this works. What was written about the moon in mythology?
The moon has held a prominent place in mythology throughout various cultures, often symbolizing different aspects of life, such as time, femininity, fertility, and the natural world. Here are some notable representations of the moon in mythology. 1. Greek mythology. Selene. In Greek mythology, Selene is the goddess of the moon. She is often depicted as a beautiful woman riding a chariot drawn by two horses across the night sky. Selene was also associated with the full moon and its cycles, which reflected the passage of time. Artemis. Artemis, the twin sister of Apollo, was also linked to the moon, particularly the crescent moon. As the goddess of hunting in the wilderness, Artemis was connected with the night and the moon's phases. She represents the more independent, wild, and untamed aspects of femininity. Hecate. Hecate, a goddess associated with magic, witchcraft, and the underworld, was often linked to the darker aspects of the moon, particularly the new moon or the phases of darkness. 2. Roman mythology. Luna. In Roman mythology, Luna was the goddess of the moon. Like her Greek counterpart, Selene, Luna was often depicted driving a chariot across the sky. The Romans celebrated the phases of the moon, and Luna was a symbol of both the celestial and the cyclical nature of time. Diana. Diana, the Roman goddess of the hunt, was closely associated with the moon, particularly the crescent moon. Like Artemis in Greek mythology, Diana was linked to nature, fertility, and the protective qualities of the moon. 3. Norse mythology. Mani. In Norse mythology, Mani was the personification of the moon. He was the brother of Sol, the sun goddess, and both were chased across the sky by wolves, representing the cyclical nature of time and the inevitable fate that awaited them during Ragnarok, the end of the world. 4. Egyptian mythology. Khonsu. Khonsu was the Egyptian god of the moon. He was often depicted as a young man, symbolizing youth and time. Khonsu was also associated with healing and the measurement of time through the moon's cycles. Thoth. Thoth, the god of wisdom, writing, and the moon, was often linked to the moon's cycles, especially in his role as a timekeeper. Thoth was credited with inventing the lunar calendar and played a role in the judgment of souls. 5. Chinese mythology. Chang'e. Chang'e is one of the most famous figures associated with the moon in Chinese mythology. She is the goddess of the moon and is known for the story where she consumes an elixir of immortality and ascends to the moon, leaving her husband Huyi behind. The moon is often depicted as her dwelling place, where she lives with the jade rabbit. Jade rabbit, Yutu. The jade rabbit is a companion of Chang'e, often depicted as a rabbit pounding herbs to make the elixir of immortality. It symbolizes the moon's mysterious, magical qualities. 6. Hindu mythology. Chandra. Chandra is the Hindu god of the moon, often depicted as a young, fair-skinned deity riding a chariot across the night sky. He plays an important role in Hindu astrology and is associated with timekeeping, the calendar, and the lunar cycles. Soma. In some myths, Soma is another deity connected to the moon. Soma represents the moon's nectar, which was believed to have life-giving and immortality-enhancing properties. 7. Native American mythology. Various Native American tribes have different interpretations of the moon. In many cultures, the moon is a symbol of femininity, cycles, and time. For example, the Iroquois associated the moon with the concept of fertility and the rhythms of life, aligning the moon with the female reproductive cycle. In Navajo mythology, the moon is often considered male and is believed to work in tandem with the sun, guiding the rhythms of nature and the seasons. 8. Mesopotamian mythology. Sin, Nana, in Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian mythology, Sin, also known as Nana, is the god of the moon. He was one of the most important deities in the Mesopotamian pantheon and was believed to have control over time, guiding the hours and days through the lunar phases. 9. African mythology. The moon often represents a deity or force that controls the night and influences the rhythms of the world. In some African traditions, the moon is seen as a protector or a god of wisdom who has a deep connection to the natural order, fertility, and agriculture. Symbolism across cultures. The moon commonly symbolizes time, cycles, and renewal, often reflecting the cyclical nature of life and the changing seasons. Its phases, from the new moon to the full moon, are seen as a metaphor for birth, growth, death, and rebirth. The moon is frequently associated with femininity and the feminine in various mythologies, representing qualities such as intuition, emotion, and fertility. In some traditions, the moon is seen as a mysterious, magical, or hidden force, linking it to concepts like the unconscious, mystery, and transformation. Overall, the moon's mythological significance spans a wide range of meanings, from a symbol of cyclical change and time to a powerful, mystical force guiding or influencing human behavior and the natural world.
Well, that is pretty interesting. All right, I'm saying I had some new information. I showed us some of it in the last video, but I do have a little bit to add right here. And then this is only going to be a short clip, and then we're going to go into the text and so forth. What it says, what is the stories of the moon? We need to look at Appolodorus. This was written in BC, a couple hundred years BC, way back. Now he talks about Iapetus, which is the youngest of all, Cronus. Then he has Tethys. These are moons. They're all moons. They're talking about the ocean. They're talking about Titans, Tartarus. These are all personifications of things that we just laughed at, that they would be talking about these things. Metis, Zeus, Kronos, swallowing the children and throwing the children up. Casting them to the Tartarus, the Cyclopeses, thunderbolts, Poseidon, Pluto. This is, and I'm telling you right now, I see no reason to discount this. Once you get to Typhon and his battle with the gods, and they turn themselves into animals, and you see that in the desert, it's very hard to turn away from that and say, oh, this stuff is meaningless. Well, I don't take it as that anymore. All right, this is just off the wall crazy, but this is what was written by Appolodorus, 200 BC. He says, Atlas and Pleione, daughter of the ocean, had 7 daughters called the Pleiades. Those are those lights in the sky, I think. They were born to them at Cyllene in Arcadia, to wit, these were their names, Alcine, Merope, Selene, Electra, Sterope, Tyge, and Maya. Of these, Sterope was married to Onimus, and Merope to Cyphus. And Poseidon had intercourse with 2 of them, first with Selene, by whom he had Lycus, whom Poseidon made to dwell in the island of Blessed, second with Alcyone, who bore a daughter, Alusa, the mother of Eleusia by Apollo. 2 sons, Hyrus and Hyperonia. Hyrus had Nucleus and Lycus by a nymph, Clonia. Nicholas had Antiope, and by Poxio. Antiope had Zeustus and Amphion by Zeus. Zeus was going around with all the women, and Zeus consorted with the other daughters of Atlas. So Zeus was basically getting it on with everybody. He was a very sexual god, and he was the god in charge. Maya, the eldest, as the fruit of her intercourse with Zeus, gave birth to Hermes in a cave. Now, this was their ancient mythology that we call a mythology. I'm starting to think this is all just unbelievably true, especially when you get down to Typhon 1.6. Well, this is way back up here. Typhon was way back, 1.6.3. Where is he? Right there. The War of the Giants and Typhon. And he's called out exactly to what he was. 1.6.2 and 3. This is all about them having battles and attacking Hercules and Hera and smoting everybody. Zeus killed everybody. And Hephaestus was shooting red hot missiles of metal, and they were throwing islands on each other. It's incredible. And then they finally killed all of the giants and the titans. I guess it was the giants and the titans. Ended up with Zeus being in control with the gods. And they killed all of Earth's children. And when the gods had overcome the giants, Earth got enraged, had an intercourse with Tartarus, and brought forth Typhon. He's the dragon in the desert. In strength, he was surpassed everything on Earth. His thighs were human, the rest of him was dragon. He outtopped all the mountains. His head often brushed the stars. He had all coiled, and they said he had 100 dragon's heads. I haven't found that, but they said that Zeus had cut those off. Where they went, I don't know. And he had all his fire flashed from his eyes. He was chasing Typhon, was hurling kindled rocks and making for the very heavens with shout and spitting fire, a great jet of fire from his mouth. The gods saw him rushing at heaven. They made for Egypt in flight. Being pursued, they changed their forms into those of animals. That's the fish he was attacking. However, Zeus pelted Typhon and he cut his throat and all that business. Now, there's things in here I don't agree with that I can support with what I see on Earth, but there's things I can. We come down to Prometheus. He molded men out of water and earth. He took the clay and molded it. That's what he says. That's what it says here. Then he gave him fire. Zeus did not like that. He nailed Prometheus to a mountain. All right, so he ordered Hephaestus to nail his body to Mount Caucasus, which is in Scythia mountain. On it, Prometheus was nailed and kept bound for many years. Every day an eagle swooped on him and devoured the lobes of his liver, which grew back by night. These guys didn't die. It was the penalty that Prometheus paid for the theft of fire, until Hercules afterwards released him, as we shall show in dealing with Hercules. That's going to be another. Prometheus was the father of Deucalion. Deucalion was Noah. And he was told to construct a chest. It's the same story as Noah. Now, why Zeus didn't want us to have fire? He wanted us to be animals? I don't know. That's another thing to start to consider. There's so much to consider once you start reading these ancient texts. And I'm taking this stuff now as not just something to be dismissed easily. Especially after you go through Typhon and you can see him laying in the desert spitting out something trying to kill a fish who was a god that changed himself into a fish. That's it's hard to dismiss. All right, I'm going to skip through this. What happened was Sky and Earth had mated, and they gave birth to these crazy monsters, including the Cyclopeses, 100-handers, all kinds of things. And they kept having children, but Sky would eat the children so that they wouldn't take over and displace him. Eventually, let's skip to where Zeus takes over. Now, he kept eating all the kids. Every time they'd have one, he would eat them. So, again, they bound and shut them up in Tartarus and wedded his sister Rhea. Now, this is Kronos we're talking about. So he's the god at this point in time. And he's eating all the kids so that another one won't take over and become the god. So he wedded his sister, and since both earth and sky foretold Kronos, that he would be dethroned by his own son. So he used to swallow all the offspring at birth. His firstborn Hestia he swallowed, then Demeter, then Hera, and after them Pluto and Poseidon. You see all these names? These are all gods. He swallowed them because he couldn't kill them, and he didn't want them taken over. So now they're all inside of him, and apparently that's Tartarus. He shut them up in Tartarus. That swallowed them. That's all I can take. He swallowed them, so Tartarus must be inside him. This has always bothered me where Tartarus was, because there's got to be more than one Tartarus. It seems to be the inside of every creature is a Tartarus, because Earth has a Tartarus too. So anyway, that's Sky. Eat the kids, put them in Tartarus, which is in Sky's stomach. Now, enraged, Rhea, which was his wife, but his sister as well, but she's the one giving birth to his kids, she was really upset because he's eating her kids. She wanted to have the kids. So she hid out in Crete when she was big with Zeus. All right, so now she's carrying Zeus. She does this. She came to Crete with Zeus and brought him forth. He was born there in this cave. She gave him to the Curetes, to the nymphs, and Ida, daughters of Mecissus and two of the nurse. Okay, now, so here's what happened. What she did was she gave a stone to Kronos to eat. Here's what happened. The nymphs fed the child on milk, and the Curetes in arms guarded the babe in the cave, clashing their spears on their shields in order that Kronos would not hear the child's voice. But Rhea wrapped a stone in swaddling cloths and gave it to Kronos to eat, to swallow as if it were the newborn child. Oop, he gobbles it down, and he's fine, good with that. However, in the meantime, Zeus is growing up in this cave in Crete. All right, so now Zeus grows up to be full grown, and his father, Kronos, didn't know about it. So he took Metis, daughter of the ocean, to help him, and she gave Kronos a drug to swallow, and that made him throw up. So he threw up, disgorged. First the stone came out, then the children whom he had swallowed. And they, with their aid, Zeus waged war against Kronos and the Titans. So he wanted to wipe them out, and they did. They fought for 10 years, and Earth prophesied victory only if Zeus, if he should have as his allies those who had been hurled down to Tartarus. Now, how he got them out? Oh, well, I know how he got them out. It says it. So he slew the jailoress Campe and loosened their bonds, and the Cyclopeses then gave Zeus thunder and lightning and a thunderbolt. Now, how he got them out? Where were those Titans? I think they must have been inside Sky, not inside Kronos. So they had to go back to Sky to get them out, I would guess. This is where it gets a little sticky trying to figure out all these little details. But anyway, they fought for 10 years, but he had to get the Titans out of Tartarus. I mean, he had to get the Cyclopses and these crazy monsters out of Tartarus. And they gave him lightning and thunderbolts, and on Pluto they bestowed a helmet, on Poseidon a trident. Armed with these weapons, the gods overcame the Titans, shut them up in Tartarus, and appointed the 100-handers as their guards. Those were the first ones that Earth gave birth to. They themselves cast lots for the sovereignty, and to Zeus was allotted the dominion of the sky, to Poseidon the dominion of the sea, to Pluto the dominion of Hades. Now to the Titans were born offsprings. To Ocean and Tethys were born Oceanids, Asia, Styx, Appolodorus, and to Hypern were born Dawn, Sun, and Moon. Yikes. This is crazy stuff. Crius and Arita, daughter of C, which is Pontus, were born Astrius, Pallas, and Persis. To Iapetus, which is a moon, and Asia was born Atlas, who has the sky on his shoulders. Well, the Atlas Mountains, I don't know. And Prometheus, who molded men. Amphisius and Menoetius, he whom Zeus in battle with Titan smote with a thunderbolt and hurled down to Tartarus. Where Tartaruses are, I don't know. Does Zeus hurl them down into his Tartarus or somebody else's Tartarus? Or is there just one Tartarus? This is tricky. I'd like to get a real good feeling on where that is. That one there's got me lost. Now, this goes on very, very long, this whole thing. We're just getting started. And I skipped over a batch. So, and they talk about the river Styx. Zeus caused the oath to be sworn by the waters of the river Styx. Remember how it says in the Bible, 200 of the fallen angels, and one of them was Satan. And I think it must be, they're referring to Zeus because he was the sexual god. I mean, he was having sex with everybody. And he said, you're all going to have to swear an oath. And that's where they swear them, at the waters of the Styx. They swore their oath there. He caused oaths to be sworn there, which flows from a rock in Hades, bestowing this honor on her because she and her children had fought on his side against the Titans. So I would say Zeus was the god that they're talking about. There was a sexual god that went against the other god who had to be Kronos. But it appears that they just sort of stepped down through the lineages, and Zeus just happens to be in charge right now. And prior to that, it was Kronos. But look at the lineage here. These were the names of every one of the names. It gets very long. Now Zeus wedded Hera, begat, had intercourse with many women, both mortals and immortals. He was getting around. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. This one fell in love with Persis, and son of Magnus, and Aphrodite, and on and on and on. Zeus had intercourse with Metis. Then Zeus swallowed her. From fear of that, Zeus swallowed her. Let me read that one. That's kind of interesting. Zeus had intercourse with Metis, who turned into many shapes in order to avoid his embraces. When she was with child, Zeus, taking time by the forelock, swallowed her. Because Earth said that after giving birth to the maiden who was then in her womb, Metis would bear a son who should be the Lord of heaven. From fear of that, Zeus swallowed her. And then the time came for the birth to take place. Prometheus, or as others say, Hephaestus, smote the head of Zeus with an axe. And Athena, fully armed, leaped up from the top of his head at the river Triton. Yikes. I don't know. We got Apollo, you got all these things, the Oracle, Delphi. Zeus is having some more sex. We got monstrous size Tychus, Olympus. All right. It's just goes on and on and on. Pluto fell in love with Persephone with the help of Zeus, carried her off secretly. This was dictated to Hesiod, by the daughters of Zeus, which were the Muses. And they danced around, and they, if you read the whole story about it, they came up to him and they said, we want you to do this. And they started saying, we can tell stories, we can lie, we can be honest, but we want our Father's truth to be told, and here's the story, and you will write it. And he did. And well, let's just look up Hesiod very quickly. I think it's going to be good to get this in detail, because this is about Hesiod, or Hesiod, however you want to call it, and when he was approached by the Muses on Mount Helicon. Now here it is, hymn to the Muses. From the Heliconian Muses, let us begin to sing. They were dancers and singers, and they were the love and all this stuff. So let us begin to sing. Who hold the great and holy mount of Helicon, and dance on soft feet about the deep blue spring, and the altar of the almighty son of Kronos, which is Zeus. And when they have washed their tender bodies in Permusus, or in the horse's spring, or Olmius, make their fair, lovely dances upon highest Helicon, and move with vigorous feet. Thence they arise and go abroad by night, veiled in thick mist, and utter their song with lovely voice, praising Zeus, the Aegis holder. Now I think that's his rod of iron, basically, his thunderbolts. So he's the Aegis holder, and queenly Hera of Argos, who walks on golden sandals, and the daughter of Zeus, the Aegis holder. Again, he's Zeus, the Aegis holder, the bright-eyed Athena, and Phobos, Apollo, and Artemis, who delight in arrows. Poseidon, the earth holder, who shakes the earth, and reverend Themis, and quick-glancing Aphrodite. Hebe with the crown of gold, and fair Dione, Leto, Iapetus, and Kronos, the crafty counselor. At this time, Kronos, well, just before, Kronos was the one that was in charge, and Zeus overtook him. That's their father. Now Eos and great Helios, and bright Selene, Earth too, and great Oceanus, and dark night, and the holy race of all the other deadless ones. They don't die. These are the gods that are forever. All right, so that's why they had to eat them. And one day they taught Hesiod glorious song while he was shepherding his lambs under holy Helicon. And this word first the goddesses said to me. Now this is Hesiod writing. The Muses on Olympus, daughters of Zeus, who holds the Aegis. Again, that's the Aegis holder. This is in quotes. Shepherds of the wilderness, wretched things of shame, mere bellies, who know how to speak many false things as though they were true, but we know when we will to utter true things. Now, so said the ready-voiced daughters of great Zeus, and they plucked and gave me a rod, a shoot of sturdy laurel, a marvelous thing, and breathed into me a divine voice to celebrate things that shall be and things that were aforetold or aforetime. And they bade me sing of the race of the blessed gods that are eternally, but ever to sing of themselves both first and last. But why all this about oak or stone? Come thou, let us begin with the Muses, who gladdened the great spirit of their father Zeus in Olympus with their songs, telling of things that shall be and were aforetold aforetime with consenting voice. Unwearying flows the sweet sound from their lips, and the house of their father Zeus, the loud thunderer, is glad at the lily-like voice of the goddesses as they spread abroad, and the peaks of snowy Olympus resound, and the homes of the immortals. All right, that's where they are, up on these snowy peaks, Mount Olympus and so forth. And they uttering their immortal voice, celebrating in song first all the reverend race of the gods from the beginning. These are their family. This is their lineage. Those whom earth and wide heaven begot. So these are all the gods that came from earth and heaven mating. So earth is the key player here, it looks like to me. So Earth, because there's a lot of planets, Earth is just one of them, but it seems to be, Mars had the same thing though on there, so who knows. Anyway, Earth and wide heaven begot all these gods. When the gods sprung up from these, givers of good things, then next the goddesses sing of Zeus, the father of gods and men. So he's now become the god. As they be, and gods and men. So, because Zeus and Prometheus apparently started men. I don't know about this. Kronos was in a time, it appears, that there was no humans, because Prometheus was in Zeus's time, and he created men, and Zeus nailed them to a mountain for giving them fire. This is a strange situation. Now, Zeus was the father of gods and men. All right, as they begin and end their strain, how much he is the most excellent among the gods and supreme in power. They really pump him up. And again, they chant the race of men and strong giants and gladden the heart of Zeus within Olympus, the Olympian muses, daughters of Zeus, the aegis holder. And it goes on and on and on and on. All right, I'm going to sort of jump over these because this is Hesiod doing the theogony. Now it starts off with the hymn to the muses, which are the daughters of Zeus, that want Hesiod to write out everything about their father. And they're his daughters, the muses. So they meet Hesiod on Mount Helicon, and they say, we want you to write all this stuff. So he writes out the cosmogony, the castration of Uranus, which they cut his testicles off so he couldn't have any more children with him, threw him in the sea and so forth. And at that point, Kronos took over. And then we got down to the spirit of the night, and then this is all it gets pretty deep at this point. Then the sea gods, all the different gods of the sea daughters and the ocean and all that stuff. And then the bestiary. This is crazy. I'm going to read you this because it's crazy. Forget all this stuff there, but they go to Medusa, who suffered a woeful fate. She was mortal. She got her head cut off, and Pegasus flew out of her head. And then Typhon, well, anyway, and in the hollow cave she bare another monster. This was Echidna, I think. I forget what her name is, but anyway, she bare another monster, irresistible in no wise like either to mortal men or to the undying gods. These are gods that are good and bad. Most of them seem pretty bad. Even the goddess fierce Echidna, who is half a nymph, who glancing eyes and fair cheeks, half again a huge snake, great and awful, speckled skin, eating raw flesh beneath the secret parts of the holy earth. And there she has a cave deep down under a hollow rock, far from the deathless gods and mortal men. There then did the gods appoint her a glorious house to dwell in, and she keeps guard in Arama beneath the earth. Grim Echidna, a nymph who dies not nor grows old all her days. Yikes. If this stuff is possibly true, this is just... Now, and they're going to Typhon, who we see he's there. Men say that Typhon, the terrible, outrageous, and lawless, was joined in love with her, with this Echidna, I guess it was, the maid with glancing eyes. So she conceived and brought forth fierce offspring. She bare Orthus, the hound of Gerones, and then again she bare a second, a monster not to be overcome, and that may not be described. Oh my God. Cerberus, who eats raw flesh, and brazen-voiced hound of Hades, 50-headed, relentless and strong, and again she bore a third evil-minded Hydra, Lerna, whom the goddess white-armed Hera nourished, being angry beyond measure with the mighty Hercules, and Hercules, the son of Zeus, of the house of Amphitryon, together with warlike Iolaus, destroyed unpitying sword through the plans of Athena, the spoil driver. This is pretty hard to work with. The Titan gods, yikes. I don't think I can go much further with this today. It's just it goes on and on and on. I don't know how to actually present this without just reading it as like a continuous script, but that gets kind of tedious. But it's pretty interesting, you know. At this point, I feel I can't dismiss this stuff. I just can't dismiss it. But when I read these things about giant snakes, hydras, and things living under the earth, eating flesh, and I don't know what to think anymore. I honestly don't know what to think anymore. What I thought couldn't possibly be appears to be what it is, and it is what I never thought could be. So could this be possible? Boy, I hope not. An awful snake who guards the apples of all gold in the secret places of dark earth. I don't know. Wow, listen to this. Listen to this. When the gods and mortal men had a dispute at Macomb, even then Prometheus was forward to cut up a great ox, the best he could find, and set portions before them, trying to befool the mind of Zeus. Before the rest, he set flesh and inner parts thick with fat upon the hide, covering them with an ox pouch. But for Zeus he put the white bones, dressed up with cunning art, and covered with shining fat. Then the father of men and of gods said to him, Son of Iapetus, most glorious of all lords, good sir, how unfairly you have divided the portions. Wow. Wow, that just jumps right into the Bible, doesn't it? Now that's almost identical, except they say God rejected Cain's offering of fruit. No, it wasn't fruit, it was just the scraps. He was going to give God the scraps. Now why would he do that? And give everybody else the good stuff. Maybe I didn't read that right. Let me look at that again. Alright, I had to read this a few times, but it's starting to make sense. Don't forget now, Zeus nailed Prometheus to a mountain, and he had his liver eaten every day for years. And I guess that must have been when the gods and the mortal men had some kind of a dispute. So Prometheus cut up the great ox and set portions before them, I believe the men, the mortal men, trying to fool the mind of Zeus. He was, I think at this point, he didn't like Zeus anymore, obviously, so he was trying to, I don't know exactly what he was thinking he was going to do, because Zeus was going to find out. He tricked him, but anyway, he was trying to befool the mind of Zeus. Before the rest, he set flesh, which is all the mortal men and gods, I guess, except Zeus. Before the rest, he set flesh and inner parts thick with fat upon the hide. So he was giving them the good stuff. Covering them with an ox pouch, which I think is the nasty guts of ox, so it didn't look like it was real good. But for Zeus, he put the white bones, which is no good, dressed up with cunning art and covered with shining fat, like, oh, this is the good stuff. Then the father of men, which is Zeus, and of gods, that's Zeus, he's the father of men and gods, said to him, Son of Iapetus, most glory of all lords, good sir, how unfairly you have divided the portions. In other words, you gave me a lot, and you gave them the junk. Only it was opposite. Now, so said Zeus when wisdom is everlasting, rebuking him. But wily Prometheus, the wily, he was trying to trick him, answered him, smiling softly and not forgetting his cunning trick. Zeus, most glorious and greatest of all the eternal gods, take whichever of these portions your heart within you bids. So he said, thinking trickery against Zeus. But Zeus, whose wisdom is everlasting, saw and failed not to perceive the trick. He knew he was being tricked. And in his heart he thought mischief against mortal men. He was upset because Prometheus created the mortal men. All right, so in his heart he thought mischief against mortal men, which also was to be fulfilled. With both hands he took up the white fat and was angry at heart, and wrath came to his spirit. And when he saw the white ox bones craftily tricked out, and because of this the tribes of men upon earth burn white bones to the deathless gods upon fragrant altars. This is the sacrifice or something. Zeus, who drives the clouds, was greatly vexed and said to him, Son of Iapetus, clever above all, so, sir, you have not yet forgotten your cunning arts, basically of deception. So spake Zeus in anger, whose wisdom is everlasting, and from that time he was always mindful of the trick and would not give the power of unwary fire to the Melian. Well, I guess maybe this was before giving the fire. So maybe, well, let's think about this. Maybe he nailed him up for more than just giving him the fire, just because he tricked him with the bones too. Interesting. Yes, because now he is giving him the fire. Wow, this changes things. All right, so Zeus was mad because he gave him the bones. Now, he was mindful of that trick, so he didn't want any fire for these millennium, whoever they are, which was the race of mortal men who live on the earth. But the noble son of Iapetus outwitted him and stole the far-seen gleam of unwearying fire in a hollow fennel stalk, and Zeus, who thunders on high, was stung in spirit, and his dear heart was angered when he saw amongst men the far-seen ray of fire. He didn't want to have fire. Forthwith he made an evil thing for men as the price of fire, for the very famous limping god formed of earth the likeness of a shy maiden, as the son of Kronos willed. And the goddess bright-eyed Athena girded and clothed her with silvery raiment, and down from her head she spread her arms, a broidered veil, a wonder to see. And she, Pallas Athena, put about her head lovely garlands, flowers of new-grown herbs. Also she put upon her head a crown of gold, which the very famous limping god made himself and worked with her own hands as a favor to Zeus, his father. On it was much curious work, wonderful to see. For of the many creatures which the land and sea rear up, he put most upon it. It was a wonderful, it put most upon it. Wonderful things, like living beings with voices, and great beauty shone out from it. This is crazy, crazy stuff. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at this for right now. And again, I got to figure a way to present this where it's palatable. It's going to be hard to do. This is a gigantic work. All right, thank you.